The Legend of the Wawel Dragon. Long ago, fado fado, or as the Polish say, dawno, dawno temu, in a land far, far away, Poland, there was a great ruler called Krak. Krak was a good, wise, sensible, and fair king. His kingdom, Krakow, was rich and prosperous, with bustling markets and villages, fertile lands with successful farms and ranches, hills with sheep and goats, forests with game and lakes, and rivers filled with fish. It was here he built his beautiful Wawel castle. The people of his kingdom were happy and prosperous and lived in peace with freedom, and no one knew hunger. All was well and good in Krakow. Until one day, and everything changed. That day, a fierce and giant dragon was flying over Krakow. And being hungry, the dragon saw all the cows and the oxen in the fields, all the sheep and the goats in the hills, and decided to feed. In one bite, it gobbled a cow. In another bite, it gobbled its calf. Satisfied, the dragon, looking around, noticed a drinking hole, the river Vistula. When it saw Wawel's grotto, it decided to make that its lair and build a cozy nest for a dragon with tree branches from the forest and bones from its prey. Unfortunately, the dragon had moved to Krakow. Over time, the dragon began to get bigger and became greedy, taking more and more livestock until they became scarce. It boldly laid waste to the countryside, setting fires, destroying homes and fields, and eventually began to kidnap people. Its appetite was endless. No one could go out. The bustling cities and towns and idyllic countryside was gone. Many had lost their homes and livelihoods. Everyone hid, and the abandoned fields became overgrown with weeds. Krakowians were terrified for their lives. Krak called together his soldiers, council, and wise men and consulted for a long, long time, but with no solution. The monster was mighty and appeared indestructible. Its body was muscular and covered with scales. Flames poured out from its jaws, and when its powerful tail struck the ground, it felt like an earthquake. When his armies advanced on the dragon's lair in Wawel Grotto, they had been forced to retreat. Nor were there any brave heroes or warriors daring enough to take on the dragon alone. King Krak felt he had only one option left to find a champion for Krakow. He would declare that whomever slayed the dragon would win his only daughter Wanda's hand in marriage and sit on the throne at Wawel Castle. Now, what many people didn't realize was that King Krak and his wife, the Queen, had tried to have a child for a long, long time with no luck. When they finally had success with their beautiful daughter Wanda, they knew there would be no other children. The king and queen decided to raise their only child to be independent, wise, fair, kind, and responsible. You see, King Krak intended for Princess Wanda to inherit his throne and rule Krakow. The king worried, would Wanda be willing to give this up and not choose the man she was to marry? Krak summoned his daughter. Wanda, you know I love you and wish for you only joy and the best things life can offer. But I need to know if you are able to do something you may find difficult. This dragon is ravaging our lands, attacking our people, and destroying their homes and farms. The people are scared and starving and need our help. Our armies are useless against this monster. Any famous fighter or warrior I've sent for has refused, no matter what I offer, having heard of the beast's fierce reputation. The only choice I have left is to offer the dragon slayer your hand in marriage and the throne at Wawel. This means you will not get to choose your husband and become ruler. The only thing I can promise you is that your future husband will be courageous. Wanda looked at her father and said, "But of course, father, these are my people too. We must do whatever it takes to save them." The king issued the proclamation. He who beats the dragon will win Princess Wanda's hand in marriage and the throne at Wawel. It was sent throughout his kingdom, as well as far and wide to other kingdoms. Many long and dreary days passed, and still no one came forward. Meanwhile, a few years before the dragon, when Skuba the cobbler was just finishing his apprenticeship, he and his master were at the castle fitting the queen for riding shoes. While there, Skuba saw the beautiful Princess Wanda and fell for her charms, but knew as a lowly cobbler it was not to be. But when the proclamation was posted, Skuba realized that this was his chance to win the hand of Wanda. He wasn't trained to fight, so he knew he couldn't try to kill the beast that way. But being very clever, he began to concoct a plan. Day upon day passed, with Skuba plotting and scheming, until finally he devised a plan he felt would be successful. He was finally ready to go to the king. Skuba the cobbler was presented to King Krak as willing to slay the dragon. Krak looked at the brave young man and wondered to himself, how could a cobbler be a better fighter than any in his well-trained troops? And at the same time, he didn't care as long as the dragon was defeated. But the king knew if Skuba had any weapons or armor, being a cobbler, it would not be the best. He offered Skuba his best sword. Skuba refused. The king presented his best shield. Again, Skuba refused. Skuba even declined King Krak's strongest armor. Krak was perplexed and asked Skuba, did he require anything to defeat the dragon? A tan sheepskin and a bag of sulfur. Even though the cobbler's request seemed strange and incomprehensible, Krak ordered that all of Skuba's requests be fulfilled. The cobbler deftly sewed the skin, filled it with sulfur, and made shapely legs with hooves and a tail. Even eyes of beads and tufts of wool were as they should be. The sheep seemed alive. Skuba threw the animal he made over his shoulder, and as night fell, crept into the cave mouth and left it by the entrance. In the morning, the dragon gobbled up Skuba's sheep whole. The sulfur inside the sheepskin began to burn the dragon alive from the inside out. To quench the fire in his belly, the dragon began to drink from the fistula. He drank and drank and drank, but could get no relief. The dragon's stomach was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, rounder and rounder, until the monster burst like a balloon, disintegrating into 1,000 pieces. Skuba carefully gathered up the pieces of the dragon's skin and then sewed magnificent green shoes for Wanda. Joy reigned at Wawel. All breathed a sigh of relief. Life returned to its old ways, and the city expanded and became wealthier. The brave cobbler married the beautiful Wanda, of course, and sat with her on the Wawel throne. They ruled long and happily, wisely and in harmony, though peddlers in the market square claimed it was Wanda who decided everything, because Skuba, although he disposed of the dragon so cleverly, always listened to his wife's counsel. The end. Or is it? There's still a fire-breathing dragon in Wawel to this very day. True story. The cast bronze statue of the Wawel Dragon was erected by Krakow in Dragon's Lair to commemorate these past events and is beloved by children.